All right, good morning, good morning. I hope you guys are ready for this one because whew, food truck abortions. Let's do this. And good morning. Okay. Good morning. God, I hope you've already got a cup of coffee and had a good night's sleep, ready to get a jump on the day. And whew, it is not Mellow Monday, so I don't have to try and justify talking about the nonsense. Guys, you've heard us say it. You've heard us say it before. You don't hate the government enough. You don't hate the news enough, and it's time for any of you who haven't started it yet. Uh, you cannot hate the left enough, and I'm gonna dig into that quite a bit this morning with one particular example. Right now, the DNC is happening, the Democrat National Convention. Um, this week we had the farewell address from Joe last night. Another rambling train wreck of pharmaceutically enhanced, rapidly deteriorating dementia. It was a train wreck, and that's all you need to know about it is that Joe is done. Um, it's also, I think, amusing to see, and I'm going to look it on the internets about it to see who said what, but it's 2024. That means that this year's Democrat National Convention is the centennial, the 100-year anniversary of the Klan Bake. Now, Snopes says that the Klan Bake claim is a false claim. And then they go on to talk about, well, nobody today really remembers if the Democrats were the Klan or the Klan was in charge of the Democrats, or if the Klan was only in the flippin' was only in New Jersey or only in New York or but they don't deny it happened. It happened. The Klan was very much in charge of the Democrat Party in 1924. And don't forget that prior to that, it was the Democrat Party that founded the Klan to begin with. The sun never sets on American exceptionalism asks the question, are we live? Not only are we live, we are live every weekday morning at 0730, unless I just happen to not be in the mood for it. So, speaking of working for free, y'all can go to buymeacoffee.com/brushfiremind and send me $5 to help cover this big old cup of happy. Because one just should not roll out the door without a great big steaming hot cup of great old American get shit done. It's better for you than the Bolivian booger sugar, that's for sure. So, what's going on at the DNC that's really got my hackles up? Um, we're going to talk about the communism later, right? In fact, we're not talking about the communism this morning. The price fixing and the ludicrous and bizarre conversations about the about price gouging that language that's used by people who don't understand what numbers are, let alone economics. At least we're talking about political and economic theory coming from the sort of people who hear the joke, hey, why was 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. And, when you're a little kid, that's a funny joke. When you're a grown-ass Democrat, it's terrifying because you don't have a sufficient understanding of numeric function to understand that it's a joke. But what are they doing today? All week, in fact, Planned Parenthood try some New England blueberry cobbler brew. It tastes like blueberry cobbler. Okay. I'm just gonna call you exceptionalism. So exceptionalism. You mentioned New England blueberry cobbler brew. That sounds like an official product placement, and I'd be happy to taste it. I'm a big fan of blueberry cobbler myself, and obviously beer. I'm beer-ed. But okay. Hey, brother, gotcha. See, and I have other viewers who use different aliases on different platforms, and so I try to be careful about cross-contaminating the aliases for OPSEC purposes. But since you've outed yourself, we'll roll with it. Waller, I just gotta get you on the show sometime, or you gotta get your ass down here and come hang out at the farm sometime when Parks and Ritter are coming to hang out. Anyway, I love a good cold beer. I love a good blueberry cobbler. I'd love to hear more about the New England blueberry cobbler, and that's all the tangent you get for the good cold beers. You don't hate the Democrats enough. And this conversation is going to have to veer into some stuff about the LGBTQ stuff as well, but here's where we're going to start. This article's from the Post Millennial from 2 days ago, I think. The abortion bus from Planned Parenthood to give free abortions and vasectomies at Chicago DNC. Comma vasectomies. It doesn't say and that's actually an important distinction because if I understand correctly, Planned Parenthood is not running, is only running the abortion food truck. They're not doing the vasectomies food truck. The vasectomies food truck is being run by a group called Project Wiener or something like that. Sliding scale. Services will be provided on a sliding fee scale. Pay what you can and get the health care you need. So a mobile abortion clinic for Planned Parenthood will be offering free medication abortions as well as vasectomies near the DNC in Chicago next week. The Great Rivers Planned. Okay, so they are on the same bus. And it says medication abortions. Okay. There are a lot of things to unpack here, and it's difficult to decide where we should start. So let me handle it in this order. I'm going to start with why abortions are evil, and I'm going to move on to why we should allow them anyway. And then I'm going to move on to how that relates to LGBTQ. So, first off, why are abortions evil? This is hard, right? This is super complex. This is some high level philosophicking right here. Why are abortions evil? Just ask. Have you ever met a baby? Yo, my cousin. I have a cousin whose little baby boy we saw this weekend and got to give him a squeeze and hug and hear his chubby little chuckles. Because he's a fat, sweet, cute little baby. And I ain't gonna lie, I get a little misty every time I look at the kid because he's got his granddaddy's eyes in, like, to an extreme degree. Have you ever hugged a baby? I mean, I don't know what else needs to be said on the topic of abortion other than, have you ever hugged a baby? Have you ever met a baby? Have you ever seen a baby? To voluntarily murder that makes you an irredeemable human being. Now, let me say this about that in a very gentle, mild defense of some of those women who have had abortion. Let's be clear, there are a lot of bitches out there who are doing that whole Democrat Party Women's March, shout your abortion thing. Like, I think it was Amy Schumer that did the whole bit about how, oh, God, I wish I had had an abortion when I was younger. I'd feel like a better woman if I had had an abortion when I was younger. It's like, bitch, don't you have an adult daughter? You know, maybe do some math in that real quick. What? So, if you've ever met a baby and you don't understand that murdering those is bad, then I don't know how much I've got to say for you. Now that is primarily a criticism of the doctors who still perform abortions. Because let's be real, the majority of women who are having abortions are young, stupid victims who are being led by the nose down a primrose path to the condemnation of their own souls by the sort of people who prefer the taking of your wealth and property by violence and force over the earning and creation of legitimate freedom, prosperity, and liberty. That's who the abortionist is. They are the same people. They're the same people who erected Auschwitz. They're the same people who conducted the Holodomor. They're the same people who instituted the one-child policy. They are Pol Pot's killing fields. They are Mao Zedong attempting collectivist farms and then saying, oh, well, we only lost a quarter of our population this year. That's not so bad. Let's try it again next year. They are Kim Jong-il saying, oh, the rice isn't growing because it's not raining enough. That's not a problem. We live on a peninsula. Go get some water out of the ocean and water the fucking rice so we have food. Oh, wait a minute. Now the United States of America has to export 500 tons of rice per year just to subsidize the survival of that little fly shit on the map mark that we call North Korea, where, by the way, it is collected by the regime and relabeled so that they can tell the local nationals that it is, in fact, the government of North Korea, right? The Bukhan Minjujui Juhan, so that they can tell the local nationals, the Bukins, that it's the great leader, the dear leader, and the brilliant comrade who are responsible for their food. These are the people who were pushing the jihad on babies. And you'll see the same motherfuckers are making arguments for open borders, which include arguments about, oh, well, America currently has a below replacement birth rate, Yes, we do. I mean, not in my house, we don't. These are the wages of a hot young wife. We have done our patriotic duty, and now we're teaching these youngins how to run saws and drills and hammers. War. That one's perfect. Look how backward North Korea is. It's just so adorable, y'all. And okay, this is a bit of a tangent. This is a little off to one side, and I'm gonna sound like a terrible racist for a minute here, but let me tell you something. In North Korea, every home is required by law, and this is, they will drag your ass out the street and struggle session and execute you if you do not have your altar set up in the house. And the altar includes the photographs of the important players. It used to be that it was just Kim Il-sung, but then it had to include Kim Jong-un, and now, of course, it has to include. Did I get them out of order? Anyway, it's got to have the dear leader, the great leader, and the brilliant comrade, all on the altar. For the last several years, I've done real estate media production, and I don't know if this is a black thing or if this is a Atlanta black thing, a Georgia black thing, but black people around Metro Atlanta are super into being black. And what I mean by that is, I'd say between 75 and 80% of the homes that I shot that were affluent or even middle class blacks, the homes would be decorated with lots of like African art and Black Power art, just that kind. Very much ethnocentric art. The kind of art that if you saw the equivalent, that you, as a reasonable, conservative, intelligent, literate human being, if you were to see a white man's home decorated in a similar, I'm getting to that, Danny. Danny says Obama statues. I'm getting to that. If you were to see a white man's home decorated similarly, you would think, as a white conservative, you would think that this person was an unhinged, crazy white supremacist, ethno-supremacist, KKK, something like that. The homes are decorated like that, like by a huge margin, and then of those, about 60 to 70, 80% have altars, right? Not just pictures, and I'm talking like giant, like 4 foot by 5 foot photographs of Barry and Big Mike, right? Obama. They and those with big altars to them. They're all they've got this. Just altars, very the 7-day candles and the beads and the little statues. Graven image idol level fucking altars to the Obamas that look very much like the same kind of altar that they do in North Korea, that they're required to do in North Korea. I've photographed, I shot about, in the last 3.5 years, I shot around 4,500 houses in Metro Atlanta. Around half of those were black owned, and around 60 to 70% of the black owned homes were owned by middle class and upper and middle class and above blacks. It's Metro Atlanta. I shot a lot of shit properties too, black and white owned, that were just trashed. Inside of the first month that I was shooting properties, I shot a $5 million mansion up in Buckhead, and in the same day went into the backwoods, 100 miles away from that shoot, into this house in the backwoods that was, and both these families were black, by the way, the $5 million mansion, and then this I hesitate to call it a house. It was a double wide that was missing floor. It was on like 12 acres of land, but it was missing floors, and they had the oven door open because it was in late December or early January. They had the oven door open with the oven cranked up to maximum heat because the heater in the house didn't work. And the man and wife were both sitting at computers in the kitchen around the oven at laptops. They were both working from home for some government agent. And one of them was doing CDC something, and the other one was some kind of financial regulatory worker. But they're both living in this trailer with the door open and this pile of mattresses. No, it was a ride. Anyway, back to the topic: abortion, abortions and vasectomies, free hot dog. You're not, because it's because it's Chicago, because they're doing the DNC in Chicago. You get a coupon for a free Chicago hot dog with your abortion or vasectomy. Now, these are medication abortions. We've talked about this before. In the abortion argument, you will often hear the lefties say, oh, well, they're trying to ban abortions with no exception for rape, incest, or life of the mother. Okay. Thing one. Rape, incest, life of the mother, that's less than 2% of all rapes, right? If you're extremely generous and use Planned Parenthood numbers, it's less than 4% of all rapes, or of all abortions, right? Rape, incest, life of the mother. Right. So if you're very, very generous, you give them their numbers. The vast majority of all abortions are elective, voluntary, essentially cosmetic. God, I hate it. So then, as conservatives, we can be reasonable and say, okay, cool, gotcha. Rape, incest, life of the mother. Okay, I'm going to say this right now, and I'll explain it a little more in just a second. There is no such thing as a life of the mother abortion. There is no such thing. There are 0 cases in which an abortion is conducted to save the life of a woman. That is false. Now, but let's forget that for a moment and just say, okay, fine. If we generously offer that 4% of cases are rape, incest, life of the mother, and say, okay, cool. That's an obvious and easy exception to make under the law. How about now we outlaw all the abortions? Right? No cosmetic abortions. No cosmetic abortions. And that I don't like it when people call them elective abortions. It's somewhat accurate. Cosmetic. You're 20 years old. You got pregnant because you were out fucking around and you knew better. You knew what was possible. And now your actions have consequences, and you've decided that murder is preferable to blowing bikini season. Unacceptable. Now, that the life of the mother abortion, and this is right, these are, like I said, what they're doing in the vans, free medication abortions. That means poison. They're giving you a drug that will cause the child to die. The last I checked, when you apply a chemical to a living thing which causes death, we call that poison. Antibiotics are poisons. You poison bacteria so that it dies, it goes away. medication abortions, poison. So here's my life of the mother argument. If you have a woman whose body cannot handle the pregnancy, the child can be removed, right? Get up to, because remember, we're not talking about abortions in cases where the body is going to reject the baby, right? That's not what you're talking about. Now you're talking miscarriage. A miscarriage is not an abortion. That is an abusive language that has been used to confuse you, because they want to be able to say, oh, these crazy assholes with their heartbeat bills, they want to lock women up. They're going to put you in jail for the rest of your life because you had a miscarriage. There's nothing you could do about that. It's not like you did it on purpose. That is a lie. A miscarriage and an abortion are not the same thing. The life of the mother, they're trying to pull your heartstrings with these images of a woman laying on a table in childbirth who is suddenly in distress. And you've got this crazed moment where, the father is being asked, we can only save the mother or the baby. You have to choose one. Right? Batman, you have to choose between Harvey Dent and your girlfriend. Who's it going to be, Batman? Spider-Man, you can save the girl, you could save Mary Jane, or you could save the bus full of nuns and orphans. Who's it going to be, Spider-Man? Which way, white man? Save the woman, save the child. No, fuck you. You're a liar. You're a damn liar. Here's what happens. In that case, the woman is in distress. She is in distress because of the way the pregnancy is gone. And the argument that is being made by the left is not, oh God, this baby is killing this woman. We need to get the baby out. As in, go ahead and expedite a vaginal delivery or conduct a C-section and remove the live child, and then continue life-saving medical procedures in the hopes that you can keep the baby and or the mother alive. And it may be the case that one of them does not survive that. It may be the case that the distressed delivery causes the death of the child in the course of attempting to deliver the child. What is not the case, however, is that it is possible to save the woman's life more safely by doing something other than removing the baby in the otherwise normal course, either a vaginal birth or a C-section. The C-section being an emergency procedure. What they're arguing is that before the child is removed, either through the birth canal or through a procedure that is the same but technically different to a C-section, that we should add an additional step where first we murder the baby with chemicals or sharp implements. Either you inject poison into the womb, into the mother, and cause the baby to die, and then remove the child, or you go in through the birth canal with forceps and you take it apart, literally limb by limb, while it is still alive and screaming in pain, and you pull its little arms and legs off until it's dead, and then you just keep pulling parts apart until it's out. Their argument is that this is somehow done for the life of the mother. Let me ask you this. I know I've got a somewhat older audience, and myself, I've had several surgeries for everything from repairing damaged eardrums to having my butt crack lifted a few inches. Have you ever had a surgery that did not come with having to sign a consent form that explained there is a chance this ends in death? Between mommy is in distress right? They're not offering an alternative to the step that saves the mother's life, which is removing the child, either through a vaginal birth or a C-section. Right? Mommy's in distress. Okay, get the baby out. They're not arguing that there's some other thing to do. No. Instead, they want to add a step in between mommy is in trouble and get the baby out. And the step they want to add is murder the baby. And the step they want to add is murder the baby while it is inside the mother. Which means that between mommy's in trouble because the baby's going badly to the baby is out and we can now try to save mommy and the baby, the step that they add in the middle is a medical procedure which includes either entering a high-risk drug into the mother or engaging in a high-risk surgical procedure whose explicit purpose is to cause the death of the child and then remove the corpse of the child, both of which procedures add additional risk to the mother's health. There are 0 cases in which the murder of a child, in which live human sacrifice to the cult of ecumenical communistic politic is the correct answer to save a life. 0 cases. But let's go ahead and say, you know what? Sure. We'll give you the rape, incest, life of the mother. Incest cases, almost non-existent. Rape cases, almost non-existent. The rape cases. Rapes themselves are a relatively uncommon occurrence. And then in order for the rape to result in a pregnancy, y'all, I've known soldiers who were trying, and to get all the stars to line up, they had to have a doctor write them a note that they had to come and show to their NCO to say, hey, Sarge, I can't do PT this morning because I've got to go home and knock my wife up. Doc says. It has to happen now. She just sent me a text. I know, Sarge, I'm here. I'm ready for the 5-mile run. But I just got a text from the wife that says, temperature's right, and I got to get in there now. I'm like, hey, go, soldier, go. You go do your patriotic duty. Work for the man. And they want me to believe that rapes result in pregnancy often enough that it's an issue that requires money to be spent on the argument. But forget all that. Let's say, cool. I am happy to extend the exception for rape, incest, life of the mother. Now, can we ban all abortions? Oh, no. See, because that's not what they're interested in. They don't give a shit. They are explicitly uninterested in women's health care, in the life of women, in free choice, et cetera, et cetera. The thing that they're interested in, the thing that they want, is to murder babies. I know that might come as a surprise. I know that might come as a shock to you, that the party of Uyghur internment camps, one-child policies, the Holodomor. I know it might come as a shock that these guys are super, sexually excited about murdering babies, but that really is the case. But here's the other side of the coin. Oh, and okay, before I get to the other side of the coin, let me clarify something. Personally, you guys, some of you, Liberty Girl, you may have started watching recently enough that you haven't actually heard me say this before. I am not a big proponent of a national abortion ban. I don't think we need to ban abortion nationally. I don't even think, personally, I don't believe that we should ban abortion state by state. In fact, much like Drag Queen Story Hour, which is already illegal based on the presentation of burlesque adult entertainment to children below the age of majority, who are still not beyond the attainder of the minority age under the law, that's already illegal. Abortion is the killing, the premeditated, volitional killing of a human being. We don't need an abortion ban. It's already illegal to murder people. So just like Drag Queen Story Hour, we just need to enforce the law as it exists. That's right. Every doctor who has ever committed, and that's another one. Stop saying performed. They have never performed an abortion. They have committed it. The same way you commit any other crime. They've committed it. Premeditated, with will and volition for personal profit. Abortion is literally murder for profit. Now, like I said earlier, the young ladies who have been led by the nose down the primrose path, it's tough. This is a real problem. And when I say profit, I've mentioned this before, and Cameron gets the credit for a lot of this argument. Understand, a major reason, possibly the major reason, apart from the fact that Planned Parenthood is one of the biggest money laundering operations on the planet for the DNC, one of the major reasons that that the Democrats are so hung up on abortion is because being a party of evil, they know that if they can get you to murder your child, this is why they're interested in the murder itself, in the killing of the baby, because this corrupts you in a major way. Because for the rest of your life, young lady, you are going to have to deal with this. You murdered your baby, and you damn well know you murdered your baby. And if you ever vote for anybody other than a pro-abortion Democrat, that is the same as admitting out loud that you have come to understand that you chose to murder your baby. So you can never do anything but vote Democrat, because to do otherwise is to admit that you chose to murder your baby. Yo, if you haven't already done it, share this episode. We don't need to ban abortion. It's already illegal. Just start prosecuting fucking murderers. It's like that colonel I dealt with downrange that said, you know, he was out of the 10th Mountain Division, and we had been just kicking ass and taking names at the 101st. And 10th Mountain was starting to take more and more losses because they were so ineffective on the ground. And this colonel comes to me, he says, "Sergeant Lowry, I need you to be a little less cowboy." And I looked at him and I said, "Sir, I need you to sprout a fucking sack and start killing terrorists." And then they made me pack my shit and go somewhere else. Which, hey, worked out for me because they were losing soldiers fast and I didn't want to be there. I went to another AO and we started killing terrorists, and hey, what do you know? We stopped losing soldiers. No, let me amend that a little bit. I want to see conservatives fighting to stop abortion in a different way. I think it was Ron Paul that said abortion shouldn't be illegal. It should be unthinkable, right? Our media apparatus, our cultural apparatus, our conversation. Waller says must have been 4th Brigade. It was, actually. Yeah. Oops. Um, it should be unthinkable, right? My children are being raised to believe that babies are good, that and that abortion is a bad thing. We've had conversations. I actually had a conversation about that with my 14-year-old the other day. And I don't know who got to her, but somebody said something to her, and she had it in her head for a minute that, well, wouldn't it be awful to make somebody go through that if they didn't want to have the baby? I was like, okay, whoa. Let's talk about that. And we had a conversation, and it was a tough one, but where we want it to be, where we need it to be, where it is best for the country for it to be, is that the sons and daughters of conservative families would never even consider an abortion. I had a girlfriend when I was a teenager, when I was, 18, 19, who told me she was pregnant. It turned out to be this whole drama thing, and that's a lot of why we broke up. And, my reaction was, okay, cool. I've got a job, got a great job, but I'll get a better job. And I told mom and dad, I won't say her name, but she might be pregnant, and they were both, oh, well, this is what happens. You knew that, right? Yeah, I knew that. Well, we'll love them. Okay, sounds good to me. And that the idea that we would abort never even entered my head. Never even it never occurred to me. In fact, I think at the time I didn't realize it was an option, because that's the kind of house I grew up in. It never occurred to me that it was a possibility. And it shouldn't have. Right? It pains me. It pains me to know that there are people out there alive today who believe that abortion is a possibility. Doesn't matter if it's metaphysically, if it exists in the realm of extant possibilities. You can still believe that it's not an option. And the idea that there are people out there who believe differently to that, I have a very hard time with, right? You should all think of people who believe abortion is an option in the same way that you should all think of people who believe that every family should have a government-funded goat for the purposes of recreational sexual activity. Right? They're the same. They're the same thing. But by and large, in the current political climate, it should be the case that conservatives are not aborting their children and lefties are. And I'm an old warfighter. And Sun Tzu said, never interrupt the enemy when he is committing an error. He is making a mistake. Right now, by the polls, there is some suggestion that the younger generations are beginning to trend more and more conservative. The trad wife is becoming a thing among the younger generations. And it is, in fact, because liberal women have been aborting their children and conservative women haven't. We're in a pretty severe slump of population. We're below replacement levels. But conservatives have babies. Now, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag. Tell y'all a little secret. Making babies is fun. Now, I got you. I got you. It sounds like what I've just said is lewd, and yes, sex is wonderful, awesome, fantastic. You like sex and money? I like sex and money. We should hang out. But have you ever played frisbee with your own kids? Right? Making babies is a lot of fun. Having them, holy shit. The shit they say. Oh my God. It's like having a house full of little comedians that wash the dishes. Y'all, make babies. They're fucking awesome. And the idea, when you look at Chicago and the Democrat National Convention right now, I want you to always remember these are the faces of people that hate babies. So, November 5th, remember the 5th of November, and get your ass out and vote. When you go to vote on November 5th, remember this. You are choosing between cheap gas, world peace, and babies versus World War II. That's what the left is offering. World War III, price controls, communism, and abortion. Oh, and bread lines. It's a good thing. When you go to Venezuela and you see people standing in line for food, journalists in America talk about how that's a sign of the communism. Well, that's a good thing, says Bernie Sanders 15 years ago. Oh. Y'all, I cannot stress this enough. Babies. All right, thanks for watching. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.